Hi, this is Anil from Learning Lad Education and welcome back to What's the Output video series on C programming language. Now, just like the previous tutorials, you guys can pause this movie and first try to find out whether there are any errors in the program. And if you guys think there are no errors, then try to guess the output of the program. Once you guys have an answer, just click on the play button. I'm gonna run the program and explain the output. Alright, now I guess you guys have an answer for this program. I'm gonna build and run this. So it's gonna be build and run, and the answer, or the output of this program is gonna be 5 and 2. Now why the heck we're gonna get the output like this? So here, if you look at the source code, we have a function called R, and then we have this main function, and inside this main function we have used a for loop, and in the initialization, condition and the updation part of this for loop, we have a call to the function R. And now if we closely look at this function R, then this function R is gonna return an integer value, and in this function R we have a static variable called num, and we have initialized that with a value of 7, and then we are returning num minus minus from this function R. So now, before explaining why the heck we got the output as we can see here, I want to talk you guys about the static variables. Whenever you use a static variable in a function, no matter how many times you call that function, there will be only one instance of that variable, and that static variable has the capacity to retain its value between the function calls. So here what happens is, when this main function is going to start execution, we have the for loop. So first the initialization part of this for loop will be executed. So here we have a function call to this function R. So this R function will be called. Since it is the first call to this function R, this static variable num will be created, and it will be initialized with a value of 7. As I told you before, no matter how many times you call this function R, there will be only one instance of this static variable num. So what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna write the num here, and below this I'm gonna write the value of this static variable num. So when we call this function R for the first time, it's going to contain the value of 7. So after that, we have the return statement, and we have num minus minus. Here this minus minus is the decrement operator, and it is in the postfix form. And because of that, what happens is, here the value of this num variable will be used in this statement, and then the num variable's value will be decremented. And because of that, here this function is going to return the value of 7 first, and then the num variable's value will be decremented. So the return value is going to be 7, and then the num variable's value will be decremented, so it's going to become 6. So here this R function call is going to return a value of 7. Now after the initialization part, the condition part will be executed. Here again we have called this function R. Again this R function will be executed. Now since it is the second call to this function R, this statement will not be executed. That's because here we are declaring and initializing a static variable, and since it is a static variable, it is created and initialized in the very first function call. And that's why, since this is the second time we are calling this function R, this statement will not be executed. And as I told you before, this num static variable has the ability to retain its values between the function calls. So now this num variable is containing the value of 6, and we have return num minus minus. Since we have this decrement operator in the postfix form, value of this num variable will be used first, and then it will be decremented. Now it is containing the value of 6, and that's why it's gonna return 6, and after that the value will be decremented. So now our num variable is gonna contain the value of 5, and the return value is gonna be 6. Now here, since we are in the condition part, this 6 is a non-zero value, and it is considered as true in C programming, and that's why this condition is gonna satisfy, and we're gonna be executing the statements inside this for loop. So this printf statement will be executed, and again here we have this call to this function R. and this is gonna be the third time we are calling this function r. Now again, since this is the static variable, it will not be declared and initialized again, because when we call this function for the first time, we have created that variable and we're gonna be using that instance only. So now this num variable is containing the value of 5, and because of this return num minus minus, here the value of 5 will be returned and then it will be decremented to 4. Now the num variable's value is going to become 4, but the return value is going to be 5. So the 5 will be printed, and you guys can see here we got the 5. And then after executing the statements inside this for loop, the updation part will be executed. This one will be executed, and here also we are calling this function r again, and this time here from this r function, the num variable is gonna contain the value of 4, and because of this statement, it's gonna return 4 and then it will decrement it to 3. So the return value is gonna be 4. So here it's gonna be 4. Now after the updation part, again the condition part will be executed, and again we have the call to this function r. So now this r function will be executed again, and here what happens is num variable's value is 3 now, and it will be used here and then decremented. So it's gonna return 3 and it will be decremented to 2. So here it's gonna return 3, and this 3 is a non-zero value, and that's why this condition is gonna satisfy. And again we're gonna execute the statements inside this for loop. So we're gonna be executing this printf statement, and here we have again this call to this function r. Now num variable is containing 2, so here it's going to return 2 and it will be decremented to 1. So the return value is going to be 2, and this 2 will be printed here, and that's why we're going to get 5 and 2 here. And after this printf statement, again the updation part will be executed. Now this num variable is containing the value of 1, so this 1 will be returned here, and this num variable's value is going to become 0. And after this updation part, again the condition part will be checked, and here we have called this function r. So now this num variable is containing 0, so 0 will be returned, and then the num variable's value will be decremented to -1. So here the return value is gonna be 0. Now since this is the condition part, this 0 is considered as false, and that's why this condition is gonna fail, and the contents inside this for loop will not be executed, and the control will come out of the for loop and execute the other statements, and it will finish its execution. And that's why we're gonna get the output 5 and 2 here. So this is it guys, hope you guys have learned something from this tutorial. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next tutorial.